Release the Kraken!
Good evening and welcome back, fellow game developers. Ron here with Lame Duck Studios, and we are going to be continuing on with our very, very simple spaceship that we've been working on the last couple tutorials. And the last one we went ahead and did the UVs, and we're going to take these into Photoshop. So if you haven't done this yet, make sure you go to the last one and get it done. For us, we're going to be in Photoshop. So I'm going to hop over to Photoshop, and I'm just going to open up my image. So I'm going to go to Open. You can also go to File and Open. Either one is fine. And I saved my UVs to my tutorials folder. So wherever you saved yours, just go ahead and open that. And it's going to drop them in here, and that is really, really hard to look at. I'm just going to go ahead and name this. So double click on the title. It's going to be UVs. And I don't want to paint on my UVs, so I'm going to lock it. I'll hit the little lock. Then I'm going to come down to this little symbol here. I'm going to add in a solid color. And that is going to be whatever color is easiest for you to work on. I'm going to go all the way down to black. Maybe I'll go like gray. Maybe gray's good. I'm going to drag that below my image. And your UV should pop up. And actually, those don't show up very well on camera, so let me go ahead and or on the capture, so I'm going to go all the way down to black here. So there are my UVs laid out for me, and all I want to do is paint my ship. It's going to be really simple. Whatever decals, whatever you want on your ship is going to go here, and then we're going to bring them over to Maya. So I'm going to create a new layer that should pop up between your UVs and your color. And this is going to be the one that I use for the primary color of the ship. And I'm going to grab like an off-white. That's probably fine. Add a layer. We'll call this off-white. And pretty much everything that is not this is going to have this off-white color. So I'm going to grab a selection and drag my selection box over everything that's going to have my white color. Use my paint bucket, just kind of drop that in. Now the bottom of the plane is actually not going to have white, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the bottom of the plane. That's what this is here, that's the bottom of my plane. So I'll go ahead and delete that. I'll select the box and delete that off. And I actually want some of the black of this to go around the edge of my ship. So what I'm going to do is erase the part that I don't want. So you can color this however you like. I'm going to grab my eraser, make it a good enough size. I get solid here. And what I'm going to do is go around this bottom edge. So I'm going to very carefully just kind of remove this. If you want to be precise, click, hold shift, and draw a straight line. Now UVs are kind of like painting in a coloring book. You want to be inside the lines a little bit. Anything outside the line won't be captured. Anything inside the line will. I don't have to really worry about these too much, but I will grab this edge here. Hold shift, drag up. That's good. Do the same thing on this side. Things that I don't really want in my scene, I'll go ahead and just get rid of those. So paintbrush. Make sure I have an idea. So I'm using a 20 for these edges, so I'm going to keep that in mind. Just kind of get rid of this extra that I don't need. I'm going to leave a little bit of overhang, that way the UVs, when it captures, there's a little bit of pixel data there, so it doesn't just grab blank. So I do want it to have something. Oof, I didn't mean to grab that. I'm just trimming off all the stuff that I don't need in the image. You don't really have to, but it's easier. Let's say if you were sending this off to somebody and they had to work on it, it's easier for them to know what's important by what is actually left behind. So I'm just trying to keep that in mind as I go. And I am going to do the very edge of this just like I did earlier. So I'm going to do 20. You don't have to follow my design specifically. Alright, that's good and clean with that and that. For the wings, let me go take a look. I gotta make sure which panel is the top. Maybe I'll be consistent and have all the bottom be black, except for the engine. So which part of the wing is here? So I'm gonna grab this top face, take a look at my UV layout here. So the top faces are gonna be the ones that have this corner. You see that corner connected? So this is going to be the top, and then this is going to be the bottom. So let's be a little fancy. And we'll do that. We'll do some decal, or some detailing. And again, you don't have to be too precise on these. You just want to make sure that whatever's there is obvious for where it's going. Just create a little bit of bleed line. So this is, remember, just outside the line helps the UVs figure out where the color is going to be. So that's all. I'll leave a little bit there. And this, that's going to be metallic. That's going to be black. So now I'm going to make the metal color. So that's the off-white color. You go to the metal color. I'll turn the eyeball off. For the metal, I'm going to do 2 different tones of gray. So I'm going to grab this, like light gray. For the other color, I'm going to grab a dark gray. Anybody who's been watching my tutorials for a while know where I'm going with this. I'm going to go up to Filter, and then come down to Render, and then do, let's do Clouds. Probably a little bit too dark on the dark gray. Let's try that again. Cool. I'm going to lighten that up just a tad. So image adjustments. Let's do brightness contrast. Adjust the contrast just a tad. What I'm doing is I'm just trying to flatten off. So if I bring this up, you'll see there's a lot of, it's very cloudy, because that's what clouds are supposed to do. But I don't want this to be too cloudy. I want to just have some very subtle variation between the 2 colors. Or the 2 tones, I should say. Okay, so I have that. And then I'm going to put some scratches on here to give it sort of like a brushed metal look. And I'm going to go up to Filter, and come down to Noise. I'm going to do an Add Noise. I'm going to do a very subtle noise pass, so 3% is probably fine, uniform. I'm going to do monochromatic, that way it's black and white. If you don't do monochromatic, it's going to give it a colored variation, which is fine. But I'm going to do monochromatic, and hit OK. And then on top of that, Filter, Blur, do a motion blur, and whatever angle you have in there is fine. You can adjust if you like, but we're going to get these little streaks. My distance is 17%, angle's minus 21. That's good enough. And if I zoom in on this, it's going to be a very subtle, like metallic etching. Kind of like how it all lines up. That's going to go over everything. I'm going to add the white back to it. And with the white, I do want to blend through because it is like a metallic white. So normal, let's go down to multiply. Not good enough. Let's do lighten. Now engines aren't usually very clean, and space shuttles aren't typically very clean either. They've gone through and done some stuff. So for the engine, I'm going to put some distortion on the engine, like it's been burned. So just above the metallic layer, I'm going to grab a selection. And actually, I'm going to see where the edge of that is. Let's go back to here. These faces, go to space mode. I'm going to select this group. That is where? That's the top. So the bottom is the bottom. Good to know. So let's select this area. And if I hold shift as I draw another box, I can add to my area that. So I have just this area selected. I'm going to do clouds again. I'm going to do darker. So I'm going to grab this. I'm going to grab a couple shades of brown here. Brown is somewhere in between red and yellow, so somewhere like an orange. So one brown. And then I do like a dark brown. Cool. Filter, I'm going to do a cloud pass, render clouds. We do an image, adjust, and then let's do on top of that image a levels. And I'll adjust these levels just a little bit. So if you bring the darks down and the lights up, you can really get some adjustments here. And then on top of this, I'm going to do a mask. So I'm going to come down, and there's a little mask icon here. I'll click that. I'm going to create a mask, and I just want to select the mask part, not the picture part. So select the mask, and with the mask selected, I'm going to grab this area. So Magic Wand tool, select here. Again, I'm on the mask, not the picture. So this is the picture, this is the mask. I'm going to grab that. And then in there, I'm also going to do a clouds. So filter, render, clouds. And it's going to give us this kind of reaction. So anything that is light in this little picture here is going to appear as solid. Anything that's dark is going to appear as transparent. So image, adjustments, levels. And if I adjust the levels on here, I can get more dirt or less dirt. Now it could be rust, it could be dirt, it could be whatever you want it to be. Pick where you're happy, hit OK. And we don't really need to see too much inside of here. So I'm going to select the picture. And above that, I'm going to name this is going to be dirt. And above that, I'll say engine dark. So I'm going to fill this in with some blackness. So I'll grab a color, this would be dark gray. I'm not going to go all the way black, but like a dark gray. Kind of like soot. We're not going to really see in here, so it doesn't have to be too precise. Grab brush type. And I'll adjust the transparency on that. So you have opacity and you have a fill. They work kind of similar, but a little bit different. So in my case, I'm going to do a fill of like maybe 78. And that'll fill that in. Okay, so now I have that, and I have a few things that I want to do for the window. So for my window, I'll kind of zoom in here. And for this, I'm going to go ahead and add a layer. I'll call this window that underneath my UVs. And I could draw a window, but I'm actually going to use a shape for this. I'm going to go down to It's right underneath this arrow and above the hand. So mine says the line tool, but whatever you have here, click and hold. I'm going to grab this rectangle. And actually, instead of the rectangle, I'll come down to polygon tool. And with the polygon tool, I'm going to come up to the top, make sure I set this to shape. And then I want to come over to number of sides. So I'm going to do 3 sides. And I'm going to drag out my rectangle. I'm going to hold down the shift key so I can snap this so that it's straight. There we go. Okay, let it go. Get my move tool. I'll move this into position. Now this has to be flipped, so go to edit, come down to transform, and then flip vertical. So this goes here. Now if I go back to Maya and I look at my ship, and actually I don't have to do that. If I go to Photoshop, I have my other one open. This shape kind of comes out and it's like a triangle, but then it kind of squares back. So I have the triangle shape, but I need the square shape. And I can do it one of 2 ways. I can add extra points, or I can add a new shape. I'm going to go ahead and add some points. So I'm going to go up to this little tool here. It's right above the T. I want the add anchor point. So add anchor point. I'm going to add a point right there. Come all the way across and try to add a point there. It's probably close enough. I'm going to come down, grab this little white arrow. I'm just going to select this. I'm just going to grab these points here and try to make them straight. So I'll drag this one kind of back. So if I come up here and grab this little convert point tool, grab that, click this one, it'll make it straight. So I get that sharp edge. Get my little pointer again, and then I'll do this side. Pull it back some. Grab my little convert tool, I'll poke it, straighten it out. But now I want to fix the color, so let's go back to my shapes tool, come up to where it says fill, and then I'll pick color, and whatever color I want for my window. So to get that, I'm going to come over to here, just double click, then I have my color options here. There's my window color. Okay. So that's probably okay. It's not quite big enough to fit the shape though. So select my window, Control and the T key gives me the transform. So I'm going to come up, just going to drag this out. Apply. So that's probably good enough. Okay. So window, I've got that, and that. So now the last thing I got to do for this is get this to be dark, because remember these edges and this thing and these are supposed to be dark. So I can do that in a few different ways. I can blend this through, or I can throw a mask on it, or I can delete out the piece that I don't want. So what I want to do in this case is I'm going to select this section and this section of my off-white. So with my off-white, I'm going to go ahead and grab that. Let's grab my magic wand tool. I'm going to select this section. I'm going to hold shift, select this section and this section. I'm going to create a mask and invert it. And with those selected, I'm going to come down to my metal. I'm going to create a mask. So hit the little mask icon. And it's going to create a mask around the shape that I made. So anything that is white is actually going to have, if I hit the little eyeball for the off-white, you can see there's metal under there. But I also want some of that metal to be on here. So I'm going to select the mask. I'm going to come over and grab my paintbrush. And you can see that because I'm on the mask, my options are black and white, because I can't paint anything other than black and white inside of the mask. And I'm just going to paint white over here. And as I paint this white here, you'll see that it becomes the color of what's behind the mask. I'm going to grab that mask and trim this off. So this should work, but actually I want to do one more thing. While I do have this as black, I don't want this to be stark black. So I'm going to do an inverse mask. I'm going to take this section, I'm going to duplicate this, so hold Alt, drag it up. And this one is going to be like this, but the other way around. I'm going to grab the mask, I'm going to go up to Image, and then Adjustments, do an invert. I'm going to poke the eye on this one. I'm going to poke the eye on the off-white so you can see that we are just doing this part of the mask. And I'm going to use my fill option and just not fill it all the way. 20%, okay, that looks like it's going to be good. Turn this one back on, and you can see now that I have this mask. I'm going to call this one dark metal, or metal dark, and then this will just be metal. So then you can see that we have two different masks. This one is controlling this part, and then this one is controlling this part. Okay. We're going to go ahead and save this. So File, Save. This is going to be Ship Texture. I'm going to save the Photoshop file. So File, I'm going to save as this time. I'm going to create a new texture file. This is going to be a Targa. And the reason I'm making a texture file is it's going to be lighter than just the Photoshop file, because the Photoshop file is going to store all these layers, and that's extra data. And I don't want to have the game running that. I want the game to run just a very simple image file. So I'm just going to go ahead and save as a Targa. 24-bit is fine. Let's go back to Maya. I'm going to select the plane. Go to Object Mode. Let's drag in a go to Rendering. Drag in a material. So I'm going to do another Lambert. I'm going to call this Ship Color, or you can call it Ship Texture or whatever. Under the Color option, I'll open it up. Go to File, Folder, and then drop in your ship texture, so the Targa file. Hit Open, and here is the ship texture drawn on. You can see it. There's my window, and there's the bottom where it's colored, kind of darker. But you can also see those purple lines, right? See those? Well, that's terrible. We don't want those on there. So we want this only to help us paint it in Photoshop. So I'm going to go back to Photoshop, turn the UVs off, and then I'll resave. So save as, Targa. Go ahead and select your old one, save over it, hit OK. I'll come back into Maya, and then with my materials up, I'll just poke the sample, and it'll just update it. And there it is. Now here's our texture applied, and there are some errors in the texture, and this is one of those things as a texture artist. You have to kind of come through and actually look at it on the model. You can see how like I did the black here, and it looks like crap, right? Down here is not too terrible. I mean, it's jagged, but here, like it stops and it doesn't go around the wing. You know, it's very inconsistent. So that's one of those things that you'd go through and you'd fix it. I'm not going to do that here because the video is already getting longer, but I wanted you to see how you can apply the texture. You can see how this is applied. It's got the soot on there. And this, of course, is a very clean cut. Dirt doesn't do that. You'd make sure that the dirt kind of trails up. But that's all part of the texture work. So you kind of go through there and you kind of manipulate it. Okay. But that's a very simple way of doing basic texture mapping. As we go along, we'll do more advanced stuff. Go ahead and save your work. In the next tutorial, we're going to look at how to get this into Unreal and get it working. All right? And I will see you next time.